There are some things money can't buy. For everything else, we need to talk.
That's not how that goes.
Money was actually a pretty regular and important topic in Jesus' teaching. But why would Jesus care about money? Shouldn't he be focused on, getting people into heaven? Well, hopefully by now, we've all realized that God's mission in the world is a lot bigger than just mere salvation. Jesus cares about money because money is a valuable resource, and we need to know what to do with it.
It's priceless.
At the end of the day, why is money valuable? Well, it's valuable for the things it can get you. Get yourself enough money, and you can get almost any worldly thing you desire.
Anything you want.
The problem is, God's purposes for money don't have to do with worldly things we desire. It has to do with heavenly things that God desires. It's about reorienting our hearts.
I see you've had a change of heart.
We tend to think that we earn the money that we get. But if this is true at all, it's only true in the very weakest sense. The Bible teaches that everything we have, all of our money, and even the ability to make money, ultimately comes from and belongs to God.
It's not about you.
But you might be thinking, wait a minute, I worked really hard for my money. Speak for yourself, man. Well, sure you did, I'm not denying that. But at the end of the day, the Bible teaches us that even the ability to work hard for money is something that God gives to us, and therefore we have nothing to boast about. And ultimately, if God gives us money to use, He gives us that money to use for His glory, not for our own.
It's kind of humbling, isn't it?
We are given this awesome opportunity, this awesome purpose of managing God's money for Him and on His behalf. That's pretty cool, but we do need to know exactly what God wants us to do with the money we're managing. So, here are some guidelines from the Scriptures. The first thing God wants us to do with our money is to invest in God's mission in the world. He wants us to be generous. We can do this by giving to the church, giving to other Christian organizations that are helping the poor and needy, and really just giving directly to people who have a need that we know about.
Don't invest in products, invest in people.
The second thing God wants us to do with money is to save money. Why does God want us to save? Well, because God is a God of wisdom. And wisdom says we should probably be preparing for the things in life we can't control, the things that are unexpected, so that when life doesn't go according to plan, we don't have to panic.
Stop panicking.
I'm not panicking.
I'm pregnant, I'm panicking.
Don't panic. None of you panic.
And lastly, God wants us to spend money, but He wants us to spend it on caring for the needs of ourselves and of our families and those we're responsible for. So yes, food, clothing, shelter, and even things like entertainment are good things that God wants you to spend your money on. But at the end of the day, we have to spend on these things in moderation, taking into account the other priorities that God has for that money.
You better get your priorities straight.
Now, is there anything God doesn't want us to do with His money? Well, one of the things He warns against in the Scriptures is getting into unnecessary debt. Keeping our debts to a minimum is a priority for God because it's wise. And if we can avoid debt altogether, that's best. If we can't, we should try and keep it to the fewest things possible and get out of it as soon as possible. This is all in line with biblical wisdom.
Wisdom.
Second, God isn't a fan of us hoarding our wealth or spending it on lavish luxury, especially not when other people are poor and needy. God wants us to invest in His kingdom, not try to build one of our own.
I will have my own kingdom.
But at the end of the day, being good managers of God's money comes down to just a few simple principles. First, we need to trust God rather than trusting money or trusting ourselves.
Do you trust me?
Second, we're to use money wisely. Remember that everything belongs to God.
It's not for me.
And finally, we should make investing in God's kingdom always a priority.
And that's being generous.
We've learned a lot about who God is, who we are, and what our purpose is in His world. Now we've learned that God wants us to share the wealth, but He also wants us to share about Jesus. So, how do we do that? That's our topic this week. Enjoy the journey.